Coming up on OU Nightly, more banned books in the state of Oklahoma, the major lawsuit from Edmond schools.
Tree pollen is on the rise for us today. We've got a cold front coming next week and the spring-like temperatures are continuing.
The National Weather Service finding a faster way to keep you safe from fire danger. This is OU Nightly.
Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Bailey Coyle.
And I'm Kaylee Carnine. The battle for books heating up today after a legal challenge from one Oklahoma school district.
OU Nightly reporter Pierce Leffelholtz has the latest from Edmond Public Schools about their upcoming legal battle.
The state of Oklahoma has banned the books The Glass Castle and The Kite Runner, as you can see in this footage from News 9, stating the books contain pornographic material. Edmond Public School officials have made it clear that they believe it is not the state's right to do so.
Yeah, so this is not about any individual books. What this is about is a fundamental issue of who ultimately controls what's in school district libraries. And we believe that authority rests with our locally elected school board and not the State Department of Education.
According to Bardock, the State Board of Education gave Edmond Public Schools two options: take the books out of their high school libraries or defend their decision not to in front of the Education Board with the threat of losing accreditation.
Accreditation is one of the most vital assets that a school district has. We feel like we were left with two paths, neither one of which we thought was the right path. So that's why we went to the Supreme Court and we're asking them to basically tell us what the right path to take is.
State Superintendent Ryan Walters released this statement claiming that Edmond Public Schools is doubling down to keep pornography on the bookshelves. Pierce Leffelholtz, OU Nightly.
Edmond Public Schools currently has its own policies in place regarding which books are in the district's libraries, as well as a way for parents to file complaints on any alternative books.
Yeah, and switching gears, Bailey, it was a gorgeous day outside. I'm ready to go back outside.
No, it was such a pretty day outside. Let's get right over to OU Nightly meteorologist Christine Gormley to see how long these temperatures will last.
That's right. Temperatures for the last couple of days have been pretty warm and very warm today. Since today was the warmest day since November, but temperatures are in the 70s going into this evening, and wind speeds are about 10 to 15 miles per hour. So it's pretty warm out there right now, and it's going to continue to be that way this evening. And meteorologist Josh Duncan is out on campus. So I don't know if we're gonna go to Josh, but he was on campus. But
yeah, Christine, we are just outside of Gaylord Hall here on the South Oval, and wow, it is a very warm day with highs that made it up into the low 80s. Definitely shorts and t-shirt weather officially in Oklahoma City. The high 83 degrees. That breaks the previous record high of 82 from 1996. And coming up tomorrow, it's going to still be very warm, just slightly cooler than today. Christine, back to you.
Thanks, Josh Duncan. So yeah, pretty warm today, and warm temperatures are going to continue, and the allergies are on the rise, and we've got fire risk. So I'm going to give you guys all those details here in a couple more minutes. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much. And now we turn to another one of our OU Nightly meteorologists, CD Finley, who has the latest on a new service that could protect you and your family from fires. CD?
Hey, thanks, y'all. I'm out here in front of the National Weather Center where some of the world's best meteorologists come to work. In fact, if you've gotten a weather warning on your phone, it's likely come from this very building right behind me. Now, when you think of a weather warning, you may think of things like a severe weather warning or even a tornado warning, but it's not these weather events are not near as dangerous as extreme heat. In fact, it's extreme heat that is the leading cause of weather-related deaths. Now, and this is why the National Weather Service and the Oklahoma Forestry Department have been leading the way in the development of a new integrated fire warning system. The new fire warning system will use a combination of satellite and radar data to detect hotspots on the surface. With the use of this technology, the Weather Service hopes to decrease warning response times when it comes to fire weather.
I tell you, a fire warning is a big deal. You get 60, 70 mile per hour winds and the fire travels that fast, seconds count, right? You can't delay in getting these warnings out.
And the system will continue to be tested at the Global Systems Lab in Boulder, Colorado. And the Weather Service also hopes to have an experimental version of the warning system out by April. Reporting in Norman, C.D. Finley, OU Nightly.
Thanks, C.D. The Oklahoma House of Representatives has a new member today. His name is Eric Harris. He's a Republican and was elected earlier this month to District 39. District represents Edmond and parts of Oklahoma City. On his campaign page, Harris describes himself as a pro-business conservative who seeks to focus on public safety. He won his spot in a special election to replace Representative Ryan Martinez, who resigned after being charged with a felony. And authorities have found the remains of a Texas girl who has been missing for almost a week. John Hornack has more details in News Center.
A family friend is charged with capital murder after the body of an 11-year-old girl was found in a Texas river. Police say Audrey Cunningham disappeared 6 days ago from her bus stop, triggering an Amber Alert in her hometown near Houston. Investigators say Dawn McDougal had agreed to take her to the stop, but never arrived. McDougal was already in jail for an unrelated assault charge. And Boeing has removed executive Ed Clark, head of its 737 MAX jet program, after a number of safety and quality-related concerns. The Federal Aviation Administration grounded the planes in 2019 following the crashes in January. A door blew off. A Boeing 737 preliminary inspections revealed the door plug was missing 2 bolts related to quality assurance issues. President Joe Biden has canceled another $1.2 billion of student loan debt. The latest round of relief impacts 153,000 borrowers, who are specifically those enrolled in the Saving on a Valuable Education Plan. Forgiveness is available for those who originally borrowed $12,000 or less and have made payments for at least 10 years. Hannah Gutierrez Reed's trial begins today in New Mexico. She was in charge of the weapons on the set of the Alex Baldwin film Rust. Bailey, Kaylee.
Thanks, John. When we return, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration releases a new study.
Find out what element was found in the ozone layer.
And after being in a moon landing drought, America is back in space.
Learn about an upcoming lunar landing and more in Earth Report.
My baby's back from the West Coast.
Here are those pictures that you asked for your school project? First day of school, cute as a button.
So long ago.
Oh, here's Grandma Florence after that flood wiped out the whole neighborhood.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe. And it's the best way to protect that legacy.
Ah, those beans smell heavenly.
Give Mom a little credit.
You know what? We should make an emergency communication plan. That way we're ready this year.
Oh,
Great idea.
At my dorm, we have emergency kits for earthquakes and wildfires, but I'm sure there's something more local I can send you with the link.
Okay.
Smart.
I'm coming to share with you guys.
Protect your legacy. Plan for natural disasters today. Visit ready.gov/plan.
Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
And a large satellite re-enters Earth's atmosphere right above the North Pacific Ocean between Alaska and Hawaii. OU Nightly's Emma McAndrews is following this story in today's Earth Report.
Bailey, the satellite named ERS-2 launched almost 30 years ago. The satellite hit the Earth's atmosphere around 11 this morning. ERS-2's mission was to provide long-term data on Earth's land surfaces, but the mission ended in 2011. The European Space Agency says some fragments could reach the planet's surface. At this time, there is no reports of debris sightings. Staying in space, the lunar lander Odysseus is scheduled to land on the moon tomorrow. The uncrewed lander, also known as ODI, was developed by NASA to land near the moon's south pole. The camera system on board, named EagleCam, will capture ODI's descent. If the mission is successful, it will be the first in 50 years to land on the moon by the United States. And if you love space, here's a job. You have the opportunity to go to Mars and be a Martian on Earth. NASA is looking for 4 volunteers to spend a year inside a simulated Mars habitat at the Johnson Space Center. The crew's tasks include simulated spacewalks, working with robots, maintaining their habitat, and crop growth. NASA is looking for applicants who are healthy, motivated U.S. residents, and 30 to 55 years old. The project begins spring of 2025. How much can you make? That will be discussed during the screening process. Bailey and Kaylee, are either of you the next Martian?
Man, I might have to sign up for that.
I know, that sounds like so much fun.
And speaking of stars, a former Sooner star athlete, once unstoppable on the mat, is now flipping her sights to writing.
One legendary OU gymnast is sticking her legacy in a new book. Find out more when OU Nightly returns.
And pollen is still on the rise. We've got high allergy alert today and a cold front coming in next week. I'll have those details right after this. Stick with us.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Water is our most precious resource, and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here is a water conservation tip you can try. In the bathroom, turn off the water while you brush your teeth. You'll save about 4 gallons per minute. That comes out to about 200 gallons a week for a family of 4. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
I'm starting time for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Thanks for joining us here at OU Nightly. And if you've been sniffling, sneezing, having that sore throat, well, the cedar tree pollen is sky high right now. We're very high today, and it's probably going to be like that all through the rest of this week and into this weekend, as the weather, in terms of weather, it's going to stay the same for the next several days. We do have a northerly wind tomorrow, so that'll bring some of that cold air down, and we might see some relief tomorrow with that. But here's what our general pattern looks like for the next several days. We're warm ending this week, and then spring-like temperatures this weekend. And then we're warm again starting next week. And then a cold front is going to start to come through Tuesday night into Wednesday, and that is going to cool temperatures off into, you can see that cold front moving through. Tuesday night into Wednesday, we're going to have much cooler temperatures Wednesday. Some data suggests 20s and 30s for lows on Wednesday. We could also see some severe weather Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, so we'll have to be looking at that and tracking that for you guys, so stay tuned. We could be looking at severe weather for next Tuesday and then cold temperatures ending out the week next week. But right now, none of that is the case. We have warm temperatures. Like I've been saying, that water, this is that ridge right now, that area of high pressure that's just bringing in that warm air. And with that, we also have a fire risk for today. And this is yesterday's fires, if this will play. I don't think it did, but there you could have seen some of those fires out in Arkansas and down in Ardmore yesterday. We definitely had some of that, and today we do have some elevated fire danger for the west. Here's what we're looking at for winds. That's why we have that strong southerly winds, about 20 to 25 miles per hour. And then tomorrow, we do have a slight cold front moving in tonight into tomorrow. We'll have wind speeds from the north tomorrow between 20 to 30 miles per hour in some places for your Thursday. So temperatures tomorrow are going to be a little cooler in the 60s, 67 for Norman, 50s and 60s out west. Those winds are going to be picking up from the north about 10 to 20 miles per hour. We're going to be in the 50s in the morning, 60s in the afternoon. So it is going to be a little cooler tomorrow. Lows are going to be in the 50s overnight tonight, and then highs for Friday are still going to be in the 60s. So it's going to feel like spring. By the way, we're not looking at any rain chances for the next several days until that front comes in next week. So we're looking at 70s and 80s even to start the week next week, with those temperatures dropping into the 50s next week. So I would say just if you love these temperatures right now, enjoy them while you can, because we're going to see some changes next week.
I do love these temperatures, so I definitely will be enjoying.
I know, I really like seeing that 84 for Monday. That sounds fantastic. Well, thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Former Sooner Maggie Nichols broke many records and achieved many awards, including becoming a 6-time NCAA individual champion while she was at OU. The star gymnast will be back in Norman this Friday. OU Nightly reporter Kenzie Eiserman has more on why she's stopping by Sooner Nation.
The perfect 10, the unstoppable Athlete A. Sooner legend Maggie Nichols is sharing her story with the world.
So I wanted to write a book, all throughout college, and I kind of thought about doing so just because I thought I had kind of a unique story.
Part of Maggie's unique story first appeared on the Netflix documentary Athlete A, but even after that, she wanted to share more of her journey.
I dealt with a lot from USA Gymnastics, being Athlete A, and wanted to share that aspect of my life too, just because it is a big part of who I am. And again, I just wanted to, help other people, whether they are dealing with the same thing.
But throughout it all, she's continued to spring forward.
Kind of at an early age, I learned how to, see the positives of the situation, even though they are very difficult, and overcome with a positive manner. So I just felt like a lot of people could relate to my story, learn from my story, be inspired by my story.
Now OU has the opportunity to meet Maggie and get their own personally signed copy of her book, The Unstoppable.
I am truly so excited. Being able to do a book signing at the LNC, where I competed for 4 years, truly means so much to me. And to have Sooner Nation come and to sign their books, I'm just so excited to meet each and every person. And I'm so excited that I can also cheer on the #1 Oklahoma Sooners afterwards.
Sooner Nation will have the opportunity to meet the unstoppable Maggie Nichols right here at the Lloyd Noble Center this Friday before the meet. Reporting from the LNC, Kenzie Eiserman, OU Nightly.
Maggie Nichols will be signing her book at the Lloyd Noble Center from 5:15 to 6:30 on Friday. You can bring your own book or purchase one on site. And OU baseball looked to build off an impressive weekend in Dallas.
OU Nightly's Ryan Smith has more on the Sooner Sluggers coming up in sports.
And OU women's basketball looked to bounce back against Cincinnati after losing for the first time in over a month. Did Jenny's squad get back on track, or did the Bearcats strike in Cincy? Coming up next in sports.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Water is our most precious resource and something that should be conserved and used wisely. Here are some water conservation tips you can try. In the kitchen, collect the excess water you use to rinse produce and use it to water houseplants. Also, soak your pots and pans instead of letting the water run while you scrape them. Water is life. This message was brought to you by the City of Norman.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hello, I'm Ryan Smith, and it is time for sports. After the West Virginia Mountaineers snapped Jenny Baranczyk's squad's 9-game win streak last weekend, OU women's basketball traveled to the Queen City to take on Cincinnati on Tuesday. Guard Lexi Keys knocked down this free throw in the first to notch her 1,000th point in her career, but it was Skylar Van who took this one over, playing some string music here in the third on her way to a 22-point night as the Sooners claw out the Bearcats 95-87. And Van talked about bouncing back after a tough road loss last weekend.
I mean, just play and have fun. We talked about it. West Virginia, I mean, they're a great team, and we weren't playing ourselves, so I think stepping onto this court today, we're like, play Oklahoma basketball, and I think that's what we did.
And as we get closer to March Madness, both the men's and the women's teams are looking to make a tournament run. Van and the Sooner women are a projected 6th seed heading to the Boulder Regional in Colorado, while OU men's basketball is hanging on by a thread at the 8th seed in the Western Regional. OU softball is gearing up for the Mary Nutter Classic in California this weekend with a field that features 7 top 25 squads. Head coach Patty Gasso loves this challenge for her team.
This is the Mary Nutter. It's the premier tournament. And as bad as the fields are, they don't care. They want to play there in front of their family and their friends. And that's what they, what they grew up on. So it's a big deal to them. And, that's why we got to fine-tune this.
And after experiencing the Mary Nutter Classic for the first time last season, sophomore pitcher Kirsten Deal talked about the atmosphere that Cathedral City brings.
It definitely gives you a little bit of taste of what the World Series is like, for sure, just the amount of people that are surrounding the games and stuff. But you really learn how to control the game with your teammates and everyone and slow the game down when you're in a type of environment like that. So I'm excited to see what it looks like this year.
Tossing it to OU baseball, Skip Johnson's squad faced off against Dallas Baptist last night, and it may not be the 4th of July, but the fireworks were on full display. Back-to-back jacks from Michael Snyder and Jackson Nicholas ties the game up at 7, but a grand slam from DBU's Nathan Humphreys puts the nail in the coffin for the Sooners, losing 11-7. Bailey, Kaylee, back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. The internet asked, and the Library of Congress delivered.
Coming up, details on Rosa Parks' Featherlight Pancakes recipe, the unusual secret recipe coming up.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
Gracias. Thank you.
What's wrong, mijo? Donating to a pet's medical care can keep families together. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Pumpstar and chocolate dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Pumpstar dinner.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Franklin with an update on Edmond Public Schools petition. The Deer Creek School District Superintendent says he supports EPS, saying that public schools have a right to local control and, quote, should not be undermined by any agency at the state level. Tomorrow, the State Board of Education has a scheduled meeting, and I've reached out to the EPS asking if they need to be there. Bailey, Kaylee. Thanks for that update. Now, the Library of Congress releases Rosa Parks Featherlight Pancakes recipe. It's an unusual recipe that includes peanut butter and triple the amount of usual baking powder.
But the most unusual part, it's written on the back of the first Independent National Bank of Detroit envelope by Rosa Parks herself. The recipe was gifted to the Library of Congress in 2016 as part of the Rosa Parks collection. Man, I might have to go and try those for myself.
I know, I think I'm gonna have to wait till next week when the weather gets a little bit cooler. Let's get over to Christine for one last look at the weather.
Yeah, that's right. Temperatures next week will be cooler, but we'll be in the 60s and 70s and even 84 for Monday next week. So we've got some warm temperatures to look forward to for the next couple of days.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you for watching OU Nightly. I'm Bailey Coyle.
And I'm Kaylee Carnine. Be sure to watch OU Nightly live weekdays at 4:30. Good night.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Able to do that. That's the operations team that makes this possible. It's a miracle as far as I'm concerned, because it didn't have to be that way, but they made it happen.
NASA celebrates Black History Month.
Every day, the Earth receives visitors from outer space. Tons of space dust that mostly goes unnoticed. But sometimes larger objects can be seen streaking across the night sky. They are meteors. Only a few of these shooting stars survived the fiery descent through the atmosphere. For having withstood their ordeal, they are much reduced in size and given a new name, meteorites. Most of them are never found, but in 1954, one meteorite made its presence known in an extraordinary way. It happened in a small Alabama town where Ann Hodges was taking an afternoon nap on her couch when she was awakened by a sharp pain on her left side. A meteorite had crashed through the roof, striking her. It is the only verified account of a meteorite ever hitting a person. Of course, bigger rocks have fallen out of the sky. 50,000 years ago, a 50-yard wide asteroid crashed into the ground and was vaporized in what is today the state of Arizona. All that was left was this 600-foot deep hole, the best preserved asteroid crater on Earth. And there's what happened to the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. That catastrophe not only wiped out the dinosaurs, but 3/4 of all of the then existing animal, marine, and plant species. Keeping track of asteroids and comets is a serious business, and it's an important aspect of the work the Jet Propulsion Laboratory performs as part of NASA's larger effort to protect our planet from cosmic marauders. As the saying goes, the dinosaurs didn't have a space agency.
Roger, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Fortunately, we do. Join the hunt for space rocks. Asteroids and comets are as old as our solar system. They formed 4.5 billion years ago in the midst of a swirling disk of interstellar gas and dust. As the cloud contracted, our star, the Sun, ignited.
You can imagine when the solar system first formed, it started off as a giant cloud of gas and dust that starts to kind of coagulate under the influence of gravity. Gravity starts pulling everything together.
This is how the rocky planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, came to be. They endured unceasing bombardments from other objects as they carved out orbital paths around the Sun. One of those collisions between the Earth and a Mars-sized object gave us our moon. Further out, the giant gas planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, came into being. But even here there was likely mayhem. Uranus may have suffered an enormous collision, one explanation for why it is permanently tipped over on its side, the only planet in our solar system existing in such a state.
Most of the mass ends up in planets or the Sun, but there were little pieces left over. And eventually those pieces formed into what we know as asteroids and comets today.
While asteroids are leftover debris residing mostly between Mars and Jupiter, the vast majority of comets are to be found far beyond the orbit of Pluto. A region called the Kuiper Belt is believed to contain millions of them. And far more distant, surrounding the entire solar system, is a celestial sphere, the Oort cloud. Here, trillions of comets may reside. It's from these distant places that some comets find their way into our planetary neighborhood.
We now know that there's a sort of a cloud of icy, rocky bodies out there that are called long-period comets, or Oort cloud comets. These objects probably are remnants of the original gas cloud from which our solar system collapsed about 4.5 billion years ago. And they're still out there. Occasionally they make their way into the inner part of the solar system, and they can come in, and then we see them as comets.
Compared to asteroids with their dark surfaces, comets are show-offs. For as a comet approaches the sun, dusty ices on its surface heat and light up, turning into a cloud of gas and dust, often having a trailing tail that can be millions of miles long. To the ancients, comets were viewed as harbingers of impending doom. But today, dread has been replaced by fascination. For these interlopers are relics, made up of the oldest and most pristine matter in our solar system. And it seems likely that we have to thank them for having brought to Earth long ago the elements that have allowed life to develop on our planet.
We know for certain that a pretty large asteroid or comet is responsible for the extinction of the dinosaurs. So from that standpoint, they can be incredibly destructive. Of course, we wouldn't be here without that. Maybe we'd be walking lizard people, I don't know. But it's certainly true that life today is very much a product of an asteroid impact, a destructive one. On the flip side, we think that there's a very powerful role that these objects have played in the potential for building life on this planet and perhaps elsewhere. If we just start from the very beginning, which is the seed of an asteroid or comet, that tiny grain becomes a site where molecules can meet and form more complicated molecules. So they become nucleation sites for chemistry to occur. So you can start with simpler things, even like 2 hydrogen atoms, but eventually those build longer and longer chains of molecules, some of which can be very complex. And eventually, all of those complex chemicals can migrate to a planet. So we think that there's a role that comets and asteroids have played over billions of years in seeding our planet with some of the chemistry that it may have needed to eventually evolve life.
The best known of all comets is Halley. It revisits the Earth about every 76 years. Its 1986 appearance was a highly anticipated event. This was the first time, given the dawn of the space age, that it was possible to venture out and meet Halley. And no one was more excited about that possibility than the then new director of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Bruce Murray. Murray was intent on reinvigorating JPL, which he believed was becoming too cautious with missions he dismissed as being gray mice. He wanted, instead, for the lab to create daring new technologies used to explore destinations that would excite the public. These kinds of missions he labeled Purple Pigeons, for it was